Welcome to episode 59 of your source of comic book news and culture.
This is Variant Edition.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
We took a few weeks off after Wizard World, but we're back, and we're getting you caught up on some of the cool comics we've read since we've been online.
And because there's so much going on in the world of comics, we had to split our reviews into 2 episodes.
So here's part 2 of our review catch-up, with all the reviews that we couldn't fit in last week.
Some of these reviews may contain spoilers, so...
So watch at your own risk. Alright guys, issue 13 of Flash, the fastest man alive. Now, you might have heard it, you might have not. There's kind of been a big ruckus from what I've heard about it, and, I'm obviously shocked by it. Bart Allen is dead. The current Flash has already kicked the can, and there was no crisis about it. There was no, massive epic. And I'm, pretty upset. This concludes, obviously, this third story arc where Bart has assumed the mantle as a Flash post-crisis after Wally's disappearance, and Jay Garrick having confessed that he is the actual literal form of the Speed Force. So what happened was Inertia, his villain from the future, who came back with Bart, has been developing this plan for the past 2-3 issues. He's been getting all the Rogues Gallery villains together, kind of like they used to back in the original Flash volume. How they started this big Rogue Gallery war. And so they didn't want to take any part of this. They're like, why should we trust you? You've got this big scheme. We've done this before. Endless times we've been beaten to death by this guy on so many levels. Now, by beaten, they think that they're talking about Barry Allen. They're still stuck on 80s time frame, pre-crisis. These guys don't know that they're dealing with actual younger third, generation Flash. So that's a really good, catchy thing to catch if you've been reading Flash for, how many years. The villains are trying to get together, and Inertia's trying to set up this big scheme. He says he's building this big machine that is going to stop time, and the villains are just going to have their way with the world. They can take over countries, they can rob banks, they can do whatever they like while the time is stopped with this machine. The trick was that he was actually building some kind of modifying, molecule machine that was going to take Bart's powers and permanently install the Speed Force inside Inertia, and it just didn't happen. Bart died. He lost his power while fighting all the Rogues villains. He took out Inertia big time, but in the end was just out of energy, and all the villains had their way with him. There's a ton of panels of him just cashing it, the beatdown, and they finally take it out and just shoot him because they realized that when he lost the mask, it wasn't Barry Allen. They've been beaten by a child for the past couple of years, and they just couldn't accept that, so they just completely had nothing, held nothing back, and they just went all hold against him. And it was really hard to watch, and there's a couple of great panels at the end where Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, gets a call, and then Robin gets a call at Titan's Tower, and it's just so emotional, this issue, if you've been reading. It was a great book. I thought it had a great run despite a lot of criticism, with the writing, with the drawing, and just where the story was going, and with the whole idea with the new Speed Force being inside Bart. I thought it was a great book. Sadly, we see this book come to an end. But there's another book that brought back a nice shimmering light of, Flash, if I may, which will, bring back some life to this book coming soon. So we'll see where that goes. But for now, no more Bart Allen, but there will be more Flash.
Marvel Zombies, Army of Darkness, number 5 of 5. Well, I didn't like the beginning of the comic, and I didn't like the middle of the comic. I didn't like the end of the comic either. They're in Doom's castle. He's got the enchantress with him who can seduce any man, so he doesn't know that she's a zombie, but she is. And the Dazzler gets bitten, and her finger goes away, and then Doom saves the day briefly, and then Ash comes up with this crazy idea, hey, you can bring back the dead, so why don't I just resurrect all these people, and they can fight the bad guys, for the bad guys being the good guys who are now the zombie bad guys, which is kind of hard to follow, but stick with me there. And so now this horde of evil dead, this army of darkness, is kind of like Ash's last hope. That's not even true, because they are superheroes, and they're dealing with zombies now. Not much of a competition there. They eradicate the whole army of darkness that's in Latveria at that time. Of course, Doom has an interdimensional gateway, and he's sending all of his people through it. And Ash is looking through, another place to go to be safe for a little while. Lo and behold, he finds another world, another dimension where instead of it being zombies, it's werewolves. I don't know what to say about that. What a way to suck. What do you... Don't buy the comic. Maybe if you really want to see the Necronomicon use as toilet paper by the Hulk, buy the comic. Otherwise, you can use this comic as toilet paper for yourself.
Alright, Elephantmen this week. Not normally how I'm used to reading it. It's the pilot issue, which is they have a nice summary on the first page going into the history of Hip Flask and how it was just pretty much he was like this icon for the company, and they would have other artists do, you know, pin-ups and one-shots of him, and then it kind of went out of hand and they had silly stories. So the pilot issue is a nice compilation of these issues, and they kind of tie that in. You know, your little mediators are like the main characters from the actual story of Elephantmen, where it's like, hey, I'm coming home to, assuming her brother, somebody that she calls Tiny. He's on the computer reading comics. It's like, oh, look, Hip Flask comics. Which is kind of funny because, you know, everybody's gone through that phase where it's just like, hey, look at this crap that we're reading. And then you go into it. And that's how they open it up for, like, these 4 or 5 stories that they have in this comic. And it's everything from Hip Flask being your run-of-the-mill cop to him being in space to him being your Indiana Jones type character. It's just really cool to see that years ago, Hip Flask didn't really have character or like a persona. He could have been really melded into anything, just as long as he was the good guy, because it's Hip Flask. And the pilot issue collects all that. If you miss the pilot issue, you're not missing out anything like from the story, but it's really cool to see all the other possibilities that Hip Flask went through before he ended up being the Hip Flask that we all know and love from Elephantmen. So if you want to see some kind of heartwarming stories, there was one in there with like this little chimp guy who built stuff. Struck a nerve with me because those guys just kept breaking his inventions. But anyway, so the pilot issue doesn't really have Hip Flask as the Hip Flask that we all know and love from the series Elephantmen, which is like the best series I've read since Walking Dead. But it's a good issue. It's silly and fun. So if you're down for seeing that, definitely check it out. And if not, just eagerly await the next issue of Elephantmen like I am.
Alright guys, issue 48 of Teen Titans. Now this is a Amazon's Attack Titan issue. Not really that important to the Amazon's Attack storyline in whole and the Wonder Woman Titans, but you know, a Titan issue nonetheless. Here you have Wonder Girl, Cassie, and Supergirl getting involved in the whole Amazon's Attack thing because they see it on TV after they just got done burying Duella in the previous Teen Titans issue when she was killed during the countdown. So there's a lot of tying in going on here. If you're not keeping up, you might get a little confused. So they arrive on the scene. U.S. Armed Forces are ready to, you know, start blowing back at the Amazons, and Supergirl and Wonder Girl arrive, and the Teen Titans are right behind them. So basically the whole, you know, big thing about the story was the Teen Titans, it's more of like a family matter thing, you know. Cassie isn't really directly tied into the lineage of, you know, Wonder Woman like Diana and Donna are. She's not from Greece. She didn't gain her powers like she did, you know. Her father is Ares, the god of war. She's tied to him somehow, but she's not directly of Greek descent, so this doesn't really apply to her. So they want her to pull out and just, you know, leave with the Titans and let Supergirl and whoever else wants to, you know, chip in on this, like the Justice League, handle this the way they want to. And she doesn't want to leave. So they end up fighting. It's pretty much a big fight issue, and it's like not resolved. So this is going to keep going on for, I think, at least another issue. And it might be reflected on in like another Wonder Woman issue, and definitely the next issue, Amazon's Attack. So it was a good read. Not really interested in the whole tying it into another story because I like my Teen Titans, you know, dealing with their own problems and their own villains. But, you know, it's worth a read if you're reading everything else. But I'm looking forward to what's going to happen afterwards.
Alright, I kind of strewed off the path of the creepy comics that I'm, you know, used to reading, and Kevin made me read Invincible number 42, because it's the new reader-friendly issue, which it definitely was, despite the fact that they open it up and he's like on another planet, he's on the moon, in space. I'm like, I don't know how he got into space, but it explains it. And the issue itself doesn't really explain that much, it's just like, wow, this is a good story. I'm at the end of this story. Where's this going? But wait, I don't even know where it started. And then, oh look, there's 4 pages, not like a paragraph, not 1 page, 4 pages with illustrations summing up issue 1 to the issue that you're reading now, which was a really, really good summary. It goes into everything with Invincible, how his dad was Omni-Man, and he was like the greatest superhero on the planet, but then he turned against humanity and turned against his own son. I've never read Invincible. This was seriously my first time reading it, but after reading issue 42, I definitely want to check out the trades. It's written by Robert Kirkman, it's Robert Kirkman, he does good work, and issue 42 was drawn by the definitive artist of Invincible, Ryan Ottley, And that's kind of a hard thing to see these days, because, you know, most of the things I read, like Fear Agent, it goes from Tony Moore to this guy trying to be like Tony Moore to this guy who just blows. And it's nice to have some kind of consistency, especially with art, because when people start looking different and they're characters that you really grow attached to, and it's like, I really don't like how he did it, but I really liked how he did it, and it changes, that kind of screws up the story for you. But the story in this was good. It's more the personal level of our character. He's a very humane character. You can still relate to him. He's like a New Age Spider-Man. He's not that, oh, he's the son of Krypton, so he's not really human, or he has billions of dollars, so he doesn't know what it's like to not have billions of dollars. He's your average, everyday guy. And that's why I want to read these comics, because from the summary in the back, with the whole conflict between him and his father, who was once Earth's greatest superhero and then turned his back on everything that went into that. I mean, how could you not love a good, somewhat Hamlet story between father and son? It's great. And 42... reader-friendly, definitely, and, the 4 pages that they had in the back, definitely check it out. It's not like a superhero that they're trying to bring back from, the Silver and Gold Age because they can't really think of anything new, and it's not like a rehash of Superman or anything else. It's just, here's this kid who has these powers, didn't really ask for them, now he's dealing with them, but he's still going to college, having friends, having a girlfriend, well, did have a girlfriend, apparently. And it's just, you so relate to the guy, and he gets into these crazy situations, such as an all-out fight with his superhero father. How could you not like that? I'm checking out the other graphics because the story really compelled me, the characters really compelled me, and the 4 pages in the back kind of summing up how I got to issue 42 definitely seemed like, oh wow, these 4 pages made me want to go out and buy all those graphic novels. So it's kind of like, you know what you're buying before you buy it. So if anybody looking for that new superhero who's not the same old, definitely pick up 42 of Invincible if you've never read Invincible, because as the cover says, it definitely is reader-friendly.
Alright guys, now speaking of Amazons and fighting and horses and all that stuff, Wonder Woman issue 10 is, I believe, looks like to be the last tie-in issue of Amazon's attack. Now this is getting to a really crucial point, and it's getting, there's a big climax in this book because there's so much going on. This is affecting the DC Universe on a big-time scale, even though you have Countdown going on and other stuff and other titles going on. You see the Justice League is involved with this, the Justice Society. There's other solo heroes, volunteering to either fight with or against the Amazons. Usually, it's, more likely against, because they've already practically blown up Washington. So this book is dealing with Diana more on a more personal level, like her dealing with her mom being resurrected from the dead by Cersei, her having to choose between her lineage, her heritage, her her responsibilities as an Amazon, or as the hero she was been betrayed for the past 30, 40 some odd years, and being sworn to protect the humans and civilians of Earth. So it's getting really good. It's digging into Diana's personal thoughts and how she's feeling and dealing with all this other stuff going around her. So like I said, this is more like a fighting issue. She's fighting herself emotionally, mentally, and then she's fighting literally against her own mother, her own army of sisters. So it's really good, and the artist on this book has been really loyal to her style of very rough but not manly rough. There's still a great essence of beauty in her while you watch her fight. It's really good art, and she's being so well written by Jodi Picoult, and I can't wait to see Gail Simone what she does. But Jodi Picoult's been doing a great job. But at the end of this issue, it's a really big crucial point because she has been basically fighting her mom the whole time, and her mom's like, this is the right thing to do, and Diana's like, no, they can't do this because I wasn't held prisoner under any circumstances. So Diana's like, basically, you're gonna have to kill me in order to get to the rest of the United States and slash Earth and destroy everything. Are you really going to do that? And it just leaves with that nice big splash page right there. So I believe next issue is going to be like a really big climax. We don't know what's going to go down. Someone's going to have to give or die. So it's really good. I really recommend Wonder Woman again because, again, with the scheduling that was going on last year, a lot of people dropped it, but I highly recommend you pick this book back up, especially with the mini tie-ins. It's getting really good, and I can't wait to see where it goes after this.
The new Avengers Transformers number 1 of 4. Well, there's a Transformers movie, and Spider-Man was just really big at the box office. So yeah, let's do a crossover here. Let's have some comics with some movies and some cartoons. It'd be good times. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna say this comic is horrible. It's a good lead-in for the story. There's this energy source in Latveria, and they're bombing the country next to them. And so Cap and Spider-Man and Luke Cage and Wolverine go to save the day, and Spider-Man gets captured, and they're doing all kinds of crazy experiments. And you have a nice little, in the shadows scene with Optimus Prime and his crew, I forgot. Autobots. Thank you. They're the Autobots. I knew that. Don't give me hate mail for that. I just drew a blank right there. Anyway, Decepticons have a big ball thing. They're going to kill off all the world by inducing chaos with this energy ray signal thingy that goes out there and makes everybody more angry and more happily obliged to go towards violence. And you can see that with Wolverine getting more edgier, and Cap throws his shield at Wolverine, and then the Autobots show up and say, "Don't worry, we've got everything under hand. You guys go home. We'll take it from here." Of course, they're not going to, so it's going to lead into a great team up, I think, with the Avengers, which aren't really quite the new Avengers, because I think it was written well enough that you can kind of see this is either at the beginning of the new Avengers or maybe right before the new Avengers actually got formed up all together. I don't know where they're going with the comic. Well, I know where they're going with the comic, but I'm not going to ruin it for you guys. Pick it up, take a read. If you like Transformers and you like the new Avengers, this is a good comic for you because it's a no-brainer in the title. If you don't like either, probably not going to like this comic. That's just me, though.
Ever wonder what an afterlife road trip is like? Well, if you've ever wondered that, Chronicles of Wormwood issue 4 will show you. And from what I gathered, it's really not that nice, because issue 3 they end off with Jesus and Wormwood saying, "Hey, some stuff just went down. We're kind of having a bum day. Let's do an afterlife road trip." And they pick it up and they're driving like a convertible Cadillac through hell. I don't know if that does anything for anybody out there, but that's just cool as hell to me. And the sections of hell they were going through was just like different types of torture and torment, which was weird because they're all like, just cruising like it's a desert trip. But all these terrible things are going. Jesus gets kind of sad, which, it's Jesus, so he's going to have to. Wormwood, on the other hand, doesn't. And this issue is just like, it's a lot of laughs. You see Satan talking to the Pope, and they're kind of like in cohorts. And if you remember the Pope from the previous issue, he's not so much what you would think the Pope to be. Cigar smoking, cursing, womanizing. Like, he had an orgy in his premiere issue. It was insane. And now he's on the same side as Satan. Their dialogue's really great, because the things they talk about, they kind of like go through the years of religion and like faith and stuff like that. But it's great to see the Pope talk about this with the devil, and they're like college roommates. They're all buddy-buddy. It's like weird to read it, but it's just great. And that's pretty much all that happens. Road trip through hell, Satan and the Pope chilling out, having some laughs, talking about, plots they're going to be doing. Still, don't know where this is going, but that's kind of like how it is for each issue, which is why it's great, because it tackles so many things with religion, different aspects of it. And if you're open to things like that, if you're not so focused on your one main faith or main belief, and you're a bit open to, hey, this is a fictitious story, let's see what they're doing with these characters that I'm already familiar with. It's a really great read. Anybody out there looking for something new? Chronicles of Wormwood, definitely it.
All right, guys. Big book of the week right here, or big book I've done for the reviews today. Issue 10 of Justice League of America, which concludes the big crossover between the two big teams of the Justice Society and the Justice League. Now, I've been wondering since day one what this Lightning Saga, what's been all about, who have they been bringing back, what have they been thinking about doing, and pretty much the answer has been in front of our faces for the past at least 3 months. And it was just so obvious if you really thought about it for a little while, and it's revealed at the last page. But let's review the book first. Art-wise, this book was so great. Ed Benes was back on for this last issue, and I'm really glad he was. And the writing with Brad Meltzer, it just had you guessing and thinking about what's going on, where's this plotting going, and the characterization and the interaction between both teams is like really cool and friendly, because you'd wonder what a big team up would be like with all these different personas, and all these different heroes, and here they are, actually working together for, I think, the first or second time in current continuity. So that's really cool. So the dynamics between everybody and whatnot is on a really cool level and professional level. So they've all been duped. If we saw last issue, all the Justice Society and Justice League got duped by a hologram by, I forgot the girl's name. She projects holograms in past tense. So they thought they were encountering a fight with, some villains from the past that the Legion has. when they were actually just fighting a bunch of just like nothing ghosts. And when Clark figured out and used his X-ray vision, he thought the girl was there and she was already gone. So they got duped while the Legion of superheroes was actually able to spread out across the country with their lightning rods and start to position themselves to bring back who Brainiac 5 told them they wanted to bring back. It's funny because Bruce and Green Lantern and certain core characters of each team have a significant encounter with each member of the Legion. They say something where, you're going to thank us for this, and, we'll see you in the future, this is only the beginning. And there's just so much going on in the storyline that makes you want to read this book even more within the next, couple of months and next couple of years, because this is building on so much. So finally, we reveal the lightning strikes. The Justice League tries to avert it, but, Brainiac 5 from the future helps the Legion, build these defense systems that are just every way impenetrable. Even though the Justice League has like every way of penetrating them, there's a counter for it. So the lightning strikes and it hits Karate Kid dead center, and it looks like he caught it, and that was the end of Karate Kid, because Dream Girl said that at the beginning of this arc, one or all members of the Legion were going to die, which at the end turned out to be a huge lie and a big diversion to make them accept what was going to happen. So we see that the last cut panel, huge splash page, Lightning Saga, he who rides the lightning. Who else would ride the lightning but the Flash? And I'm not talking Bart. Wally West is back. And if you paid attention in Crisis, Wally had disappeared into the Speed Force with Bart and Jay to take down Superboy Prime. And it was only Bart who returned in Barry's outfit when, they all broke out of the Speed Force. And, he said they got left behind and they don't know if they died or not. So that was all up. That's been up in the air for about a year and a half now, whether, Wally's been dead. So Wally is back. He's been transported back with his wife and his 2 kids. And it was just a really great ending to, I think one of the best storylines already this year. And on top of that, it's a crossover. So that was just, a big surprise. And I think anybody reading this has just got treated to a really great treat, because we just saw Bart Allen die and the Flash book get canceled. But now, like I said, there's a new glimpse of hope, because now the Flash will go back to its original numbering, from what I've been told, and pick up where Wally's just getting his life back together, and now he's back on regular Earth, and we're just gonna see where this goes from here, because he's already been recruited by the Justice League, so no time's being wasted. This is gonna carry on in such a big way in the DCU, and I can't wait to see where all these books go in the next 6 months or so.
All right, that's it for Variant Edition.
Wow, so many reviews. We covered a lot. We don't want to hear anyone complain that there aren't any cool comics out there. I think we found a couple.
If you're sick of reviews, don't forget to check out the Variant Edition, The Discussion. We've got a few online, and our newest is Con 101. We cover the do's and don'ts of Comic-Con etiquette.
Next week, it's our Where's the World Philly coverage. We went, we saw, we shopped, and along the way, we managed to get some interviews, too.
As always, there are quite a few ways to watch us: iTunes, Vio, YouTube, Google Video, and our new high-res feed on Blip TV. Head on over to variantedition.com. We've got video right on the website and links to all the other ways you can watch us.
Well, that's it for Variant Edition Tuesday. See you next time.
Bye.